You're listening to Blue Please right here on citycorporate.com with myself, Total Biscuit. I had someone ask me, this is probably a good illusion of choice question, I suppose, what's your take on Jesse's stance about raid nerfs? Well, the one thing I'd say about Jesse's stance is that kind of he has to take the side of World of Warcraft, considering he would like to take all of my old WoW subscribers. I don't blame the guy, I love him to death. Hell, we should be doing some more Terraria. But, yeah. His stance on raid nerfs, so I didn't actually watch the video, because I actually don't care, but if we have a look at this, then he's saying, stance about raid costs coming in patch 4.2, he makes some good points about the nerfs helping people get raid experience, because as the top level guild said after they finished all the content, it was just a bit too hard. Yeah, after they finished all the heroic content, it was a bit too freaking hard. The top guilds finished the content in a couple of days. It's as simple as that. They didn't finish the heroic content. Yeah, the heroic content's hard, it's called heroic content, postcard. Just thought, what's your take on that one? Well, I suppose I can talk on that particular matter. The question is, what experience are people actually getting from doing nerfed, declawed content? Because I remember this argument before. I recall it. The argument came from a blue poster all the way back at the start of Wrath of the Lich King. We want an intro-level raid tier. There's a reason. There's a reason why Naxxramas is so easy, because this is to introduce and train people for the real raid content that's coming ahead. You want to know what happened? I can tell you what happened. Oh, yes. XT002 happened. Nerfed, 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 nerfed. That's basically what happened. They couldn't handle it. Of course they couldn't handle it. They'd had no experience in handling anything remotely difficult, because the first tier of content they were given wasn't remotely difficult. Naxxramas was declawed as all hell. You can make all manner of mistakes. For God's sake, in blues, you could survive 3 hits in the Heigendance. 3 hits?! What?! Are you serious? Bear in mind, the Heigendance used to kill you! You could survive 3 hits, and that's assuming you didn't get healed. God. How disgraceful is that? What does that teach people? What does that teach people? I had someone ask, by the way, did I lose a lot of subscribers? I'm just posting it to the channel right now. No, I didn't. vidstatsx.com/v/totalhalibut will show you the massive loss of nobody whatsoever. In fact, my channel views have actually gone up since I did that. Huh, well, there you go. Incidentally, that's channel views. That's people that actually went to the channel page as opposed to actual video views. How many video views did I get today? Let's have a look. I'm actually quite curious. I do have... Ah! I'm sorry, I've been deafened by my own videos here. I've got a fairly good suite of analytics built into YouTube that I can... No! Oh, the bloody epic. Okay. Let's have a look, let's have a look. Go to my Insight. Oh, did I crash VidStatX? Ugh, bollocks! Whoops. Stop talking about websites, Total Biscuits. Stop talking about websites. Oh, man. Anyway. Let's have a look at some stats, shall we? So, 13th of May, I was getting 300,000 views a day. It's pretty good. It's not bad. Yesterday, 420,000 views. The day before that, 430,000 views. Today, 410,000 views so far. Right, yeah, that's really gone down, hasn't it? This is the thing, and I keep saying this about everything when it comes to the entertainment industry. YouTube is personality-driven, not content-driven. All people care about is there a personality that they enjoy listening to? If yes, they'll just continue to listen to them. It doesn't matter what they say. Look at C-Nanas, for God's sake. C-Nanas, we're talking about a COD commentator, who I like, by the way. He's a very approachable personality, seems like a really nice guy. The last COD commentary I watched from C-Nanas, he was talking about getting a tattoo. He wasn't even talking about the game. In fact, the game didn't matter. He could have had a black screen. It wouldn't matter. 650,000 people watch this guy talking about what tattoo he's going to get next. You want to know why? Because it's personality-driven. And it's as simple as that. CNANers understands it. I understand it. Blue Zephos understands it. Yogscast definitely understands it. My God. They can put out anything and people will watch it. Why? Because they love their personality. Simon and Lewis, what a team. Friggin' next Laurel and Hardy. Next little Fry and Laurie, I suppose. Whatever you like. It's good. They understand it. They know how YouTube works. They know how the entertainment industry works. I know how the entertainment industry works. So it doesn't matter. I can cancel shows and people will still stick around. Because, of course, they started watching it. And, yes, they are now in a situation where they are personality-driven. It's like, I watch Total Biscuit videos because of Total Biscuit. It sounds really incredibly arrogant, but it's absolutely true. And it works for all channels like mine. All of them. And I suppose, to segue quite nicely and stylishly back into World of Warcraft, that's WoW, isn't it? WoW became personality-driven for people. It wasn't about the content, it was about the people they were playing with. It was about the fact that they had a World of Warcraft character and they had a regular schedule of playing World of Warcraft, and World of Warcraft was an integral part of their life, and they didn't want to tear it out. It's like tearing off one of your limbs, for God's sake. You don't want to do that. Sounds like a terrible idea. I don't blame people for having that attitude. Not at all. I've had a similar attitude in the past. I've stuck around in the game because of people as opposed to me actually liking the game. In the case of my content, it was like I was doing the content not because I enjoyed the game, because I was doing it for the people, and there comes a point where you've got to turn around and say, no, that's not enough for me anymore. I'm sorry. Now, to go back into what Jesse was saying right here, this kind of stuff does not train you to do anything. It isn't good enough. A prime example. Real life, folks. Real life. Now, this might not be true now, but back in the day when I did it, it was. People who took GCSE Law, yeah, that was an optional thing, a GCSE Law, or indeed even AS level or A2 level Law, were actually not liked by university admissions for law schools. You want to know why that is? Because they weren't actually being trained in law. They were being given such basic training in law that actually it would probably impede their ability to learn properly when they had to do the real stuff. This was the attitude back in 2002. Yeah? So it may have changed since then, but that was what I was told at the time by my careers advisors and by people like that came into the schools and said, well, we don't really think that you should do A-level law or GCSE law or anything like that if you want to get into law at university, because generally speaking, universities, law schools don't like that. This is the same principle. It's like, oh, well, we can train to raid in these nerfed out dungeons, and as a result, all of these high-end raiding guilds will take us. No, actually, they won't. If they see that your only raid experience is doing these nerfed out dungeons, they will probably think less of you than a guy that's never done anything. You want to know why that is? Because all that shows is, oh, well, your only raid experience is in the nerfed dungeons. Congratulations. Good going. Right, so that means you weren't good enough to do it before that. That's a problem. That is a black stain on your reputation. Really bad. Doing things post-nerf and being very obvious about it, that's bad. This is the worst thing about this change, I think, for people who are looking towards it, bright-eyed, and saying, oh my god, this is the best thing. Finally, I will get a chance. I'll have that opportunity. I want to be the very best like no one ever was. And actually, what they're really doing is putting an irrevocable black mark on their WoW raiding resume. You want to know why they're doing that? Because they are showing to the world that they are utterly incompetent. Either that, or there was a bunch of other circumstances surrounding it. You know what? I feel for those people. I'm sorry that your circumstances did not allow you to raid. Unfortunately, you are getting lumped in with all the other scrubs that couldn't do the content when it was actually relevant. It's like people turning around and saying, right, well, what's your raid experience? Well, last week I did Sunwell. Why should we care? You know, a couple of months ago I did Molten Core. Right, yeah, that's raid experience, isn't it? That content is irrelevant. That content now, this previous tier of raiding content, is irrelevant as well. You know, if you actually left it the way that it was, and you didn't give people an all-access pass, and you said, look, if you're good enough to do it, then do it. You go train in this, you go do some dungeons here. You'd be in a reasonably good situation. I'd go as far as to say, and this sounds bad coming out of my mouth, that even the Wrath system of pugging dungeons was better. It was better than this. Because at least they didn't nerf those dungeons into the ground beforehand. Yeah, sure, they were nerfed by proxy, because people had better gear through badges. The thing is, this is a double whammy. This is a double nerf. This is the worst nerf of all time. Because not only are they giving access to high-level gear for doing nothing raid-related, which means that people will have more gear than they should have going into these dungeons, which makes the dungeons inherently easier. Not only that, but then the dungeons get nerfed as well. It is a double whammy of disillusionment. Anyone that goes in and tries to apply to a raiding guild, any raiding guild worth its salt is going to turn around and say, when did you do that dungeon content? In fact, they can tell. They can tell simply by looking at the achievements. Oh, okay, you did all that dungeon content post 4.2. That means you, 1, were not capable of doing the dungeon content beforehand, and 2, then went and did the dungeon content when it was weak source. It was nerfed into the ground. So that is a black mark to anybody. So I utterly reject this ridiculous notion. I understand where Jesse's coming from, he's just completely wrong. Which is not unusual. I love the guy to death, but he has some weird ideas sometimes. To be fair, people probably think the same of me, and I don't blame them for it. You know what the nice thing about us? At least we have some ideas. I might not agree with what he's saying, but damn, at least he has an opinion and he's willing to stand by it. God, so many people are just flaky as all hell. They have no spine, they have no backbone. I think that's the worst thing. So no, I reject that idea, I reject every other idea in support of the 4.2 patch and the nerfs with the raids, and there you go folks, an entire show on why I quit. God, no one could ever make the argument that I didn't substantiate my opinion, eh? If anything, I talk too much about it. Shout out time, folks, send them in, themurloc@gmail.com, that is themurloc@gmail.com. Or you can send me a message over IRC. IRC.quakenet.org, #or cynical Brit. Off you go, off you go. You do so. Got a shout out here. Shout out to Northrend Questing for sucking so much, in my opinion. Oh, Northrend Questing was okay, actually. Wasn't too bad. Not as good as Cat Questing, but there you go. That's from Darge. A shout out to Deathame, the Paladin from EU Sylvanas, for saying that the reason the nerfs are a good idea is that he can't find a pug on Saturday night. True story. He is a moron. And to Riot Games for still not bringing a top hat to League of Legends. That's from Deathram on EU Karazhan. Yes. The nerfs are amazing, because I'm too terrible, and I'm insufferable, and no one wants to group with me. Pfft. A shout out to Antonor on Vecnalash EU. Good luck with your exams, we're missing you as a main tank. Hope to see you soon. That's from the entire guild Impure. There you go. A shout out to Havesh, returning to the show, as well as almost finishing my semester project. A shout out to the Guild Behemoth on Stormrage EU for recruiting me, and to my mates, Mascaro and Zonja for supporting me in the last couple of days. That's from Lich Reaver. A shout out to Twisted, the best PvP guild on Shout Hand EU. That's from Dagger Eye. And a shout out to the Heat Guild on Worgenlock. That's from the 194. A shout out to my Platinus for sitting home all day making gold on Shattered Hand. A shout out to Mode 7, the Frozen Synapse team, not related to them, but they deserve it. Yes, they do. And a shout out to the Giant Badger from YarVXE. And a shout out to Defiance Brotherhood EU for still having an active Garden Villain RP and the most competent player base in general. That's from Ukella. A shout out to Blizzard for finally unlocking the EU StarCraft 2 leagues, allowing me to reach Gold League. At least they can do StarCraft 2 right, mostly. You're damn right. Now, I expect the next patch to nerf all supply depots. You don't have to build supply depots anymore, because we felt the casual players didn't have the time to practice in order to get to that level. God, I wish they had the same attitude in StarCraft 2 as they did in World of Warcraft. Oh, you in Bronze League? Get better. A shout out to the Warden and Graceless for tuning into Blue Police for the first time in 2 years. That's from Catherine. And a shout out to Terraria for creating lots of Minecraft-related controversy, even though it's a very different game. Oh, well, yes, we're not going to talk about Minecraft fanboys. Well, if there was anything worse than people that write blogs about World of Warcraft and me leaving it, then there we go, we found them. All is forgiven. A shout out to the Blizzard White Knights for giving us something to laugh at after the patch 4.2 nerf. Yeah, we're going to laugh at something, otherwise we'd cry. That's from Kryken Zero. And a shout out to Space Travelers and Greymane US. That's from Jared. And one last shout out right here to Disciples of the Blade for being one of the best guilds ever. That's from Cthulhu Devil. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I am the hell out of here. Since we've been playing nothing but the Nervous Test Pilot soundtrack to Frozen Synapse, I think we'll go out in 2 tracks. One is called Focus, and the other is called Welcome to Markov Geist. Buy that game, you dolts!